Hello, we're back with What the Flick Reviews, The Walking Dead Season 6 opener. I'm Kim, this is John, that is Francis. We have a newcomer to our community, which you know what that means. He's Sean Nateghi. He is here, and you just recently shot a film, Me, You, and $5.
Correct?
Nice.
Tell us about it real quick.
It comes out tomorrow. New York love story. Waiter puts out an ad for a roommate. He wrote a book about the 7 steps to healing the male broken heart because his ex left him, and the first person to answer the ad is his ex.
Sounds a lot like
Nice.
it Walking Dead.
Sounds like
Can they? Shall they?
And then they eat each other.
Yeah.
Just like The Walking Dead.
Then it's a zombie horde.
So we open The Walking Dead with, thankfully you watched this too.
Yeah.
We open The Walking Dead this season with a very confusing drop into the future. We're going back and forth, black and white for the past, color for the current time, I guess. Reminded me a lot of the first episode and a little bit of the comics in terms of just basic coloring. They have a plan, but then, oh shit, things go wrong. We gotta do it live.
Yeah.
That is a line Daryl said. So it descends into chaos. And then we have the addition of 4 new characters.
At the very least, there's,
Yes.
there's a lot, yeah.
There's a bunch.
Keith,
Yeah.
Carter, Annie, and the rest.
Yeah, I mean, Carter had sort of been around a little bit, but there's a lot of new faces.
Was it just me that just took how obvious the whole coloring was? Like, not everything is black and white. Just like the plan Rick set
it,
out.
Francis?
Can you take that down a
it?
step? I got it right there. It was so obvious. He's like, can you break that down for me step by step? Of course it's not going to happen
Perhaps
step
it
by
was
step.
a little overused.
Yes, I think so.
That trope. We have, so it seemed at the end of season 5, we got the foreshadowing that Rick and Morgan were going to clash. They didn't really clash.
BBFs.
It didn't
Best
happen
buds.
yet.
Well, not yet, but there's hints because, you start to see stuff
Yeah.
happen right now.
Yeah, I mean, like some of the old conflicts that we had between them, between Rick's group and Morgan, could come back because I don't think he's actually convinced that Michonne did not take that power bar. I think that she did take it. I think he still suspects
you
it.
think there's going to be another peanut butter.
Exactly.
I love that conversation. Like when they were sitting down with the baby and they were like, he was giving Rick that kind of pep talk. See, that's the Rick that I know and love. And then Rick just goes, I wanted to kill him. I genuinely wanted to kill him. And you can tell how that, like, as much as he's trying to grasp onto what Morgan is saying, like he knows that a guy like that who questions everything that someone who's survived this world is telling him to do is going to die anyway. Like as soon as that guy stepped up in the meeting and said, no, Rick, I don't agree with this. Like, is there anyone in the world watching this show that just didn't say, you're going to die?
Yeah, I mean, this has happened before where Rick gets set up with like a mini antagonist. I think it happened at the beginning of season 5, actually.
I think so.
So
Yeah.
it's happening again, which is funny because I think this episode, it was literally called First Time Again.
Yeah. And you can criticize him from a position of a different experience if you have that experience. And he's certainly been good at going out there and surviving. He's not a zombie killer, but he goes out and does scouting with the zombies out there. But he's only criticizing from a position of fear and not wanting things to change. They gave him multiple chances over the course of the episode to show that he can learn, that he can defend himself, and he didn't take it. Even when he finally dies, it's the weakest zombie assault we've ever had. It's literally held back by 2 trees. It gets one grasping claw on him, and he's like, oh, do you have something to say to me? How did that not happen 2 years ago to this guy?
Well, I mean, the quarry, John, the quarry. It
Yeah, that's
stopped
right.
all
It's true.
of this for
It
years
wasn't.
and years.
Look, I mean, I think they have to get the story moving, but it did feel like it was a little bit like, okay, we're setting up the story. Like it was a little bit structured. You can kind of see what was going on. The one thing about Morgan that I'm thinking about is, he seems very, very sane right now. He appears like, he's now centered. He's all zen-like. But I feel like the peanut butter thing that your guys are talking about, I think maybe he's not so sane. I wonder if it seems like the clash is because he's sane, because he's so moral. But I wonder as the season goes on, is it that he's actually still has that insanity that he used to have?
Yeah.
Yeah, maybe.
Which could be interesting.
Yeah, was he joking with the peanut butter or was he serious?
Yeah, if he was
Because
serious.
Question.
Yeah.
that's not good.
That'll be a lingering question.
Yeah.
One thought I had, and I think Francis might agree with, is that in this opener, it kind of parallels more the beginning. It looks like Rick is Shane and Morgan is the old Rick,
Yes.
to me at least.
That is a good comparison. I could think of, I mean, Rick's transition is so evident, and they love to reemphasize it. Like you can't bury killers here. Like it's obviously funny because of the hypocrisy of it. You know what I mean?
You're
It's
a
like
killer,
he's
I'm a
deciding
killer.
who's a killer. You know what I mean? And Morgan turns around and goes, well, we're both killers. Like we just kill when we believe it. It just depends on who you actually side with. But I do like to see those transitions because way back in season 1, I actually watched a bunch of the because they do this whole thing where they show you every episode before the new season starts, and you just remember how good it was when you could see Shane's character and how many people disliked his way of what he was acting in the camp, but he kept everyone safe technically, and now everyone was so critical of him, and now you see Rick doing the exact same thing, if not worse,
Exactly.
and everyone agrees with him because it's just that's how you have to live in
I
this
feel
world.
myself bending that way too because
Yeah.
I tend to agree with Rick. But I remember Shane had a line somewhere when he was around to Rick that was like, "You don't have what it takes to protect your wife, to protect these people, to protect everyone. I do." And now that's exactly who he's become.
Yeah, exactly. That was just when before. I think I remember that. That was just when he killed, like Rick killed him after that scene. It was, and that for me, it seems like it's still going on. Like there's so many seasons now. It's 6, but that is what's keeping me watching and keeping me enthusiastic. Is to see how like what is going to finally be that deciding factor between who goes with Rick and who doesn't. If there's anyone in the camp that's going to split, because I think there's the innocence there with the Peter's son. Right, that wants to that isn't listening to Rick
Yeah.
because
Find his grave.
his father is dead. Like as much as we might have sided with Rick, that you have to look at it from his perspective. He just watched his dad killed. So is this someone that Rick now has to take care of as well? Because for me, it seems like he's the one that let off the horn, but that's just my initial thoughts.
That is a question. Who blew the horn?
yeah.
Who did
Who
that?
blew
And
it?
why did they
Literally.
do it?
Wolves, I think. I
What?
think the wolves were
Yeah, I
howling.
was thinking the Wolves.
The Wolves.
Because they show them and they talk about them. They refer, earlier talking about the guys with the W's, the beginning of the episode. But where are they?
Yeah.
Was it an
They're gonna
attempt
show.
to sabotage the plan to reroute the walkers? Because Glenn
yeah,
had made a big
possibly.
deal, like, we can't have these competing sounds.
Yeah.
It's going to mess things up.
Well, I think it was either them trying to sabotage it or they attacked the compound, so the compound did the only thing they could do to draw everyone back,
Help.
which is setting off the horn. But in either case, I definitely... hold on, I want to get back to that in 1 second. Obviously, this group knows what they're doing. They have a lot of experience. They can take out zombies in huge numbers and everything. But I think that there's a certain amount of hubris that comes with that. The idea that, we're going to take 10,000 walkers and we're going to set up a couple of sheets of aluminum and then they're just going to follow us and then we're going to put them 20 miles down the road and then everything will be fine. As if they won't then disperse and then many of them will begin walking. It's the idea that you understand stuff about the zombies that you do not. You have never done anything like that before. And it's one thing to stab a zombie in the side of the head. It's another to say how 10,000 will act in a herd.
So is that not good? That's what I wanted to ask you guys, going back to my previous point about Rick. Now, it just seems that everyone, well, mostly everyone is just agreeing with what he's saying based on his experience, but could there not have been a better alternative plan to that? Like, could there not have been something more thought out?
Yeah,
It seems
like
like the
what?
one person who questioned it, we're kind of showing it, and the show is showing it, that like, if you question Rick, you're probably going to die in your own right. Like but if there definitely could have been more of a democracy there, because they did build a good infrastructure, so they could have potentially built something that kept more of the walkers in there and maybe just diverted a path to keep them there.
Yeah,
and
or
then
let
kill
out
them
some
all
at a
at
time, and then over the course of 2 months they kill them.
Yeah,
all,
but
or
that's
something like
that also wouldn't make for a good season opener. Really.
slowly killing one
So-
after the other.
It's
Our
so
next
boring.
episode, they're at 562.
The whole time.
My arm is so tired.
I think if anyone is going to split with Rick's way of doing things, it looks like Daryl, which is a
Daryl,
little
yeah.
odd because he started this as like, the lone wolf. I don't want to get attached. And now he's thinking community. We need more people. We need to do more than survive. We need to live. We need more to join our group.
Yeah.
And we need to take care of them.
Yeah, and I think that he's definitely right. I think that having more good people inside the community would help. And yet it looks like, again, we were talking about the horn, the preview for the next episode, it seems to imply that they're under siege from actual humans. Maybe Daryl was wrong. Maybe the people in that area can't be trusted.
Yeah.
Who was there was the gay couple that brought Daryl in and really had an effect on Daryl.
Yeah.
What was the character's names? Do you remember?
Carter was one of those too, wasn't he?
Yes.
I don't remember.
No,
their
no,
names.
no,
I'm
no,
usually
no.
the one
Was
who
that not
knows
the
the
guy?
names.
No, Carter wasn't.
No, Carter's not
Oh,
one
I
of them.
thought he
Carter's
was.
brand
Okay.
new.
So
okay.
my thing is, you can tell during this opening episode, Daryl's really been affected by the fact that he was brought in and how they took him into the home. Was it spaghetti they made for him?
Yeah, they did.
And so when he's talking to Rick, saying it's your call, but I feel like finding good people, helps us. The same thing happened to him, and he's like, look what it did for us. So I feel like he's become a lot more vulnerable
Yeah.
Yes.
over the course of the season, last seasons and
No,
stuff.
I think Beth affected him a
yeah.
lot,
yeah,
too.
yeah, Beth.
Yeah,
yeah.
exactly. So talking about, that's a good point about people who are transitioning through this period. Like, what's going on with Abraham? Is he just completely suffering some severe character disfigurement because he's looking at himself in the mirror and just laughing about brains in his ear? Like, it shows to me that, I don't know what you guys thought, but it spoke to me that he was taking this as a mission to say, like, okay, I'm going to just take action, and if I die, whatever. Like, this is me living. You have to live and take action to potentially die. But is it somewhat a suicidal mission with him and who, I always forget her name, but she's like of the same, who was in the car with her again?
I don't remember.
I was
her
thinking
name,
the same question.
the names are hard to follow. People
It's
die
always
so
fun.
fast,
Well, I can't believe I'm forgetting her name. But to the end of
Rosita?
last, what's that?
No,
not
no,
Rosita.
Rosita.
But to what, Tyrese's sister.
Yeah.
Sasha.
Sasha, but
you.
towards the end of last season, she was going through some severe issues and she was putting
Yeah.
herself in these horrible situations basically just to eventually
mission.
die.
Death
you know what I
wish.
mean? A death wish. So it seems like Abraham is following that same trait and kind of test her to see, all right, how far are we going to go before both of us put ourselves in that situation that we can't return? So is it to the point like, all right, well, let's just live, and if we die, we die. We go
Yeah.
out trying.
And by the way, when they, this is maybe part of that death wish, when they go 20 miles down that road with the herd following them, do they know how to get back
Yeah,
around?
that's-
Because you can't just turn around and go back down the road, obviously.
Yeah.
That
I
part of the
don't
plan
know.
has some holes in it, I
You
think.
always find these holes
Yeah.
in their stupid plans, John, and
But
I'm sick of it.
we also shut up. Carl was a very small part of this episode, but he did have that one little bit where he sat down
Holding.
next to the little girl. The little girl, the one who climbed over the walls and goes out, implying the possibility that she might have contact with those people, maybe. I mean, they showed her for a reason, considering she was irrelevant
This
to the
was
plot
your
of this
theory
episode.
last season.
Yeah,
Yes.
I think
Yeah.
she might let people in.
She
Do you
might-
feel like Glenn and Maggie have something up their sleeve? I feel like they know something.
Talking about the scene where they were all
Yeah.
in the room and they were like discussing what's best for this, and Maggie, you have to watch over. You know.
Yeah.
You know, I don't know. I was thinking the same thing when I was watching. Like, what are they discussing? Like, they had this whole plan, but I feel like later Maggie mentioned, how Glenn had a plan to make the guy that tried to kill Glenn.
Nicholas.
Nicholas.
Nicholas,
Thank
yeah.
you. God, I wish I knew all the names.
I know.
So
We
when
tried.
Nicholas was trying to kill him, Maggie was very disturbed and was saying, Glenn told me I can tell everybody about what happened if you want to get rid of him or whatever.
Yeah.
But we're gonna give him a shot. But the thing is, I feel like that was more of maybe what they're whispering about, which is like, if we're gonna do this, she's being very careful.
Yeah.
And I don't know if this is true, but I was wondering if she's pregnant.
I'm always wondering.
Yeah,
if
that's-
She
she's
said
pregnant.
something
Could be.
to that,
Maybe.
right?
Could be.
Like being
This
extra
would be
careful.
the second pregnancy
Yeah.
scare.
Yeah.
But
So
yeah.
far.
Well, seeing different characters take up different roles, like, is it just me that finds it hilarious every scene Carol's in? Like, she
Yeah.
plays
I
this like
love
she
it.
plays this like housewife scene. I couldn't imagine this. Like, this is
dreadful.
going to be crazy. And this is the same woman that blew up Terminus in the space of 30 seconds.
And she doesn't even really need to carry on that act anymore.
I
They're
know.
so far past that. I feel like she should slowly have sort of a month-long montage of learning how to fight, and then she gets back to who she was.
said, "Oh, Daryl's been teaching me how to shoot," and she's like, "I
Yeah.
think you got it."
Yeah, no
Yeah.
doubt.
She's got it. So where are we going for next episode? I think we're going to find out about the horn at the very least.
Yes.
Oh yeah.
Well, and look, it's not necessarily the case that there's 5 or 6 people with guns who are shooting at them, but that's what all the shots that they showed in the preview made me think.
Yeah.
But at the same time, there's 5,000 zombies walking towards Alexandria right now, so the siege can only go on for so long. Obviously, it might be that the wolves are trying to get inside because they need the wolves to save them from the zombies. But that's 2 threats operating almost at the same time. It's going to be weird to see how they interact.
I have a theory for you guys.
All
I'm
right,
interested.
let's
I'm
go.
intrigued.
So with the wolves at the end of the last season, how were they storing and doing all those things with the walkers? It was with semi-trucks.
Yep.
That's true.
And guess about the barricade. They said it was a barricade holding them out. What if it was actually a reservoir for this plan that eventually
damn.
we're going to build them up, because it was all semis, which is what they were controlling. Oh, I think I got something.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
that was actually a plan to set the reservoir so they get enough
Yeah.
walkers and then
Well,
do it.
that's what they like. That's a good
good
theory, and that's
idea.
what like Rick where Rick could be wrong, because Rick could think that we need to fight back against the walkers and basically fight against them before they come for us, whereas the wolves are thinking a step ahead and thinking we don't need to fight back against the walkers, we just need to direct them to get us into a better refuge and use the walkers as a means to attract other people, because they trap Daryl, right, by using that same method. They attract them into an area which is swarmed by walkers. They use the walkers as like a herd, or I don't know, a bait to lure Daryl in, and then when they tricked him, he was trapped, and Jedi Morgan came and helped him out.
Yeah.
But I do like that theory, but it also could just pose a lead up to the next episode, is that there's clearly going to be a split. What's his name's wife, who like hole in your cheek wife, is probably going to be like, okay, Rick, your plan could have easily didn't work. And that is the thought that I had, is that how can they control what anyone else outside of the world could be doing? Like, we know there's other groups out there. All they have to do is make one bit of noise, and that plan escalates completely the wrong way. So I think we're going to see the group split. We're going to see people within Rick's camp take different sides. We're going to see people, maybe like Daryl, who doubted that this was the right plan, go in a different direction. So I think there's going to be that inner split, whilst we see potentially something that you said.
Michonne also, because she was very subtle with it.
Yeah.
With the scene with Morgan, after Carter got, he had to take, after Rick took out Carter, though Morgan was obviously disturbed, Morgan just kind of agreed, saying, I do too, like this sucks too, but you can see her kind of throughout this episode, she was thinking a lot. You don't know what, but she was affected by something. Something was on her mind, and it might play out later.
The peanut butter.
That peanut butter she was feeling guilty. She was like,
it's still in her pocket.
That was so good.
Still half eaten.
I wonder if they'll call back to it. I bet someday she hands it to him. I've been saving
see.
it.
Sentimental.
I've been saying this for this purpose. He's like, oh.
Oh, perfect. Well, we'll find out next week. Please join us for more Walking Dead review. Sean, thanks for joining us.
Thank you.
Thank you all.
Thank you.